Welcome to World Alert Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. On September 16, 2025, the world awoke to a headline that changed everything. Arab League declares war on Israel. Not a rogue state, but a unified front led by Saudi Arabia, once a pillar of American strategy. Decades of diplomacy and fragile alliances vanished overnight. The announcement, broadcast from Riyadh, Cairo, and Amman, stunned the West. For the first time in over 50 years, the major Arab powers spoke with one voice, demanding war. This was not the fractured Arab world of old, this was a new, dangerous unity. The psychological impact was immediate, a direct challenge to the post-Cold War order. The trigger escalating clashes in Jerusalem, but the roots ran deeper. Years of failed peace, expanding settlements, and mounting frustration. Saudi Arabia's young leadership seized the moment, abandoning quiet diplomacy for bold confrontation. The world could no longer ignore the reality. This was not just another regional conflict. The declaration was a challenge to American hegemony itself. The Arab League, revitalized under Saudi leadership, was betting on U.S. fatigue and division. The coming days would test whether America could or would respond. The world watched, not just the Middle East, but Washington, Moscow, and Beijing. The stakes, the future of the region, and perhaps the world order itself. The unity of the Arab world was the first weapon, a psychological blow to Western assumptions. The map of the Middle East was about to be redrawn. The countdown to war had begun. The unity on September 16th was revolutionary, a pragmatic coalition forged from shared grievances, not idealism. Decades of division, sectarian, political, and strategic, were swept aside. The old strategy, a divided Arab world, posed no existential threat. That illusion was shattered. Saudi Arabia, Cairo, and Abu Dhabi recognized America's retreat and seized the chance to lead. The Abraham Accords, once hailed as progress, were now seen as betrayal on the Arab street. This was a return to pan-Arab identity, but driven by state power, not ideology. Saudi Arabia's leadership championing the Palestinian cause, co-opted rivals and united former adversaries. The result, a bloc with vast economic and military potential. For Israel, the calculus changed overnight, no longer facing isolated threats, but the combined weight of the Arab world. Sophisticated militaries, financial resources, and energy control now stood against it. The psychological impact on Israel, profound isolation, old strategies obsolete. The board was reset, the rules rewritten. The Arab world, once fragmented, now moved as one. The implications for the region and the world were seismic. The game had changed forever. For decades, U.S. power in the Middle East rested on two pillars: unwavering support for Israel and partnership with Saudi Arabia. Israel projected American interests. Saudi Arabia stabilized oil and upheld the petrodollar. This system let the U.S. mediate, arm allies, and control oil flows. The genius separating the Arab-Israeli conflict from Gulf energy interests. Treaties like Camp David and the Abraham Accords integrated Arab states into a U.S.-led order. But the foundation eroded: wars, shifting priorities, and unreliable U.S. commitments. Riyadh saw America as a fading protector and began to hedge its bets. The old bargain, oil for security, lost its appeal. The September 16th declaration shattered the last pillar. The structure of American power in the Middle East collapsed. A new, unpredictable era had begun. The Arab declaration of war was a global proclamation of American impotence. For the first time since Suez, a major Middle East war began without U.S. approval. Indeed, in defiance of it. The U.S. was reduced to a bystander, its calls to Riyadh rebuffed. Years of endless wars and political paralysis had left America weakened and distracted. The Saudi-led coalition exploited this moment, exposing the hollowness of American deterrence. The threat of U.S. intervention no longer held weight. The Arab coalition gambled that no president would risk a global economic crisis for Israel. They were right. The fallout was immediate. U.S. credibility as a global guarantor was shattered. Allies worldwide questioned American commitments. The security umbrellas of the post-war era looked flimsy. September 16th marked the symbolic end of the American century. A new, multipolar, and more dangerous era had begun. The world order was upended in a single day. The first casualty after diplomacy was the global economy. The Arab coalition slashed oil production, sending prices soaring overnight. This was economic warfare, inflicting pain on the West and funding the war effort. Simultaneously, Saudi Arabia broke the petrodollar, accepting other currencies for oil. The dollar plunged, triggering inflation and panic worldwide. Ordinary Americans faced skyrocketing costs for fuel, food, and essentials. Defense contractors and oil giants profited while working families suffered. The war became a massive transfer of wealth from poor to rich. Supply chains shattered, shelves went bare, and millions faced poverty. The global economy unraveled, its intricate web torn apart. The war in the desert was fought on kitchen tables around the world. The cost of living crisis became a catastrophe. The world's prosperity was suddenly at risk. For Saudi Arabia, this war is a high-stakes gamble. The Crown Prince is hailed as a modern Saladin, uniting the Arab world and silencing dissent, at least for now. But the risks are existential. The kingdom is now a prime target for Israel and its allies. Its vital oil infrastructure is vulnerable. A single strike could cripple its economy. The regime bets that coalition unity and global economic threats will deter retaliation. Yet coalition members like Egypt and Jordan face internal strain and fragile economies. As the war drags on, unity may fray, leaving Saudi Arabia exposed. At home, nationalist fervor could turn to unrest if the war brings hardship or defeat. The leadership has wagered the kingdom's future on a war that could secure its legacy or destroy it. The stakes for Saudi Arabia have never been higher. The crisis forced a global realignment, accelerating the shift to a multipolar world. The US, caught off guard, seeks to protect Israel without being drawn into a wider war it cannot sustain. Europe, dependent on Middle Eastern energy, is divided and hesitant. Russia and China seize the moment, positioning themselves as alternative power brokers. Russia offers diplomatic cover and likely covert support to the Arab coalition, framing the conflict as resistance to US imperialism. China, prioritizing stability, supports the coalition economically and pushes the yuan as an oil currency. Both powers undermine American influence and financial dominance. Europe is paralyzed, unable to act decisively. The West's unity fractures while a Russo-Chinese axis gains ground. The world splits into competing blocs, with the Middle East as the epicenter. The global order is being rewritten in real time. Far from the front lines, ordinary people bear the brunt of the war. Economic shockwaves spark protests across Europe and North America. Soaring fuel prices ignite movements against inequality and political indifference. Inflation devastates the poor and middle class while governments struggle to respond. Extremist movements exploit the chaos, promising easy answers and scapegoats. The global elite profit, defense stocks soar, commodity traders thrive, and the wealthy shield assets. Public rage grows, fueling a sense of injustice and betrayal. The social contract in Western democracies frays under the strain. In the Arab world, initial fervor gives way to hardship and doubt. Fragile economies cut essential services, and the promise of quick victory fades. People question if they are pawns in a game of kings and presidents. The war's true cost is measured in lives disrupted and hopes dashed. For Israel, the United Arab Declaration is a nightmare realized. Facing existential threat on multiple fronts, the nation is under siege. Northern borders with Lebanon and Syria are active. The eastern front with Jordan is insecure. Egypt's naval blockade tightens. The sense of security is gone, replaced by isolation and betrayal. Even traditional Western allies hesitate, fearing economic fallout. The IDF is stretched thin, fighting a coalition with unprecedented depth. Israel's doctrine of short, decisive wars is tested by a strategy of attrition. The Arab coalition combines conventional assaults, asymmetric warfare, and economic pressure. Israel's military edge is challenged by the sheer mass of its adversaries. Leadership faces agonizing choices: preemptive strikes, nuclear threats, or a long, grinding defense. No option is good, survival is uncertain. Israel is more powerful than ever, yet more vulnerable. This war marks a turning point, a fundamental reassessment of its place in a hostile new Middle East.